All right, today we're cracking open one of the most talked about personal finance books out there, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We're going to distill the big ideas, the core lessons, and really get into the mindset shifts that made this book such a phenomenon. So let's jump right in.
This right here, this is the heart of the whole thing. It flips the script on everything we're usually taught about a career. You know, the whole idea of trading your time for a paycheck? This says, forget that. The real goal isn't just to work in the system, it's to own the system.
So how did Kiyosaki come up with all this? Well, the whole book is built around the story of his two dads. There was his actual father, a super educated guy who always struggled with money, that's the poor dad, and then there was his best friend's dad who dropped out in 8th grade but ended up a millionaire. That's the rich dad.
And you can see the difference clear as day right here. Look at the poor dad column. It's full of statements that just end the conversation. I can't afford it. That's a full stop. But then you look at rich dad's column. How can I afford it? That's not an end. That's a beginning. It's a question that fires up your brain and sends it looking for answers. And that shift right there is where everything starts.
So why do so many people, even people who make a really good living, seem to be spinning their wheels financially? Kiyosaki's got a name for it, and it's a famous one, the rat race.
Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. It's that endless hamster wheel. You get up, you go to work to get a paycheck, and then that paycheck flies right out the door to pay bills. Which means, of course, you got to get up and do it all over again. You're not building anything, you're just surviving.
And what keeps us running on this wheel? According to Rich Dad, it's two really basic human emotions. First, there's fear. The fear of not having enough money. The fear of bills piling up. That's what makes you cling to that job for dear life. And then, the second you get that paycheck, greed, or let's just call it desire, kicks in. You start dreaming of all the cool stuff you can buy. The crazy part is, getting a raise doesn't fix it. It just gives you a bigger, shinier cage to run around in.
Okay, so if a bigger paycheck isn't the answer, what is? How do you actually get off the wheel? It's not about working harder. It's about knowing one simple, incredibly powerful rule that just changes the entire game.
All right, here's the million-dollar question. And the answer is actually way simpler than you'd think. It all boils down to knowing the real difference between the stuff that makes you rich and the stuff that just makes you look rich.
So forget all the complicated jargon you've ever heard. Rich Dad's definition of an asset is just beautifully simple. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket, period. Think of it like a little money machine that you own, and it just keeps working for you month after month, whether you show up to a job or not.
And a liability, well, you can probably guess. It's the exact opposite. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. Think car payments, credit card debt, that mortgage payment. They're just a constant drain on your cash.
This is it. This is the whole game in one sentence. Most financial struggles don't happen because people don't earn enough. They happen because people spend their money buying liabilities, like a new car or even their own house, thinking they're buying assets. They think they're building wealth, but really, they're just building a bigger pile of bills.
Let's just follow the money for a second. For a poor person, money comes in from a job and flows right out to cover basic expenses. For the middle class, that same job income goes to pay for liabilities, the mortgage, the car loan. But now look at the rich person's column. Money comes in from their assets, and where does it go? To buy more assets, which then generate more income, which buys even more assets. It's this incredible, powerful cycle where money starts making more money. That's having money work for you.
So that leads us to the next big idea. If you're supposed to be buying assets, what does that actually look like in real life? It comes down to understanding the huge difference between your profession and your business.
Kiyosaki tells this amazing story about Ray Kroc, the guy who basically created the McDonald's we know today. He was giving a talk to some MBA students, and he asked them a really simple question about his company.
And of course, everyone in the room gave the obvious answer, right? You're in the hamburger business. But Kroc just shook his head and told them they were all wrong. His real business, the thing that made him fabulously wealthy, had absolutely nothing to do with hamburgers. His business was real estate. See, Kroc understood that the most valuable part of McDonald's wasn't the secret sauce or the French fries. It was the land, the physical corner lot that every single franchise sat on. The hamburgers were just the thing that paid the mortgage on the land. The burgers paid the bills, but the real estate, that built the empire.
And that's the lesson for all of us. Your profession, that's your job. It's how you pay the bills.
But your business, your real business, is your asset column. Minding your own business means spending your time and energy building up that asset column, totally separate from whatever you do for a paycheck.
So, if wealth isn't just having a fat paycheck or a big fancy house, then what is it really? Well, the book gives us a totally different way to think about it, one that's way more powerful. This idea comes from the brilliant inventor Buckminster Fuller, and it's a real game changer. Wealth isn't a number in your bank account. It's measured in time. It's the answer to one simple question. If you stopped working right now, today, how long could you live? That is the true measure of financial freedom.
Let's make that super clear, okay? Imagine all your bills, rent, food, everything, add up to $2,500 a month. Now imagine you've built up your asset column. Maybe it's some rental properties, maybe dividend stocks, whatever. And it brings in $2,500 a month without you lifting a finger. At that exact moment, when your assets cover your lifestyle, you've done it. You are financially independent. You are officially out of the rat race.
So this is the big, tough question the book leaves you with. And you have to be honest with yourself. It's not about how much you earn. It's about how long you could last. For a lot of us, the answer to that question can be a serious wake-up call.
So let's just boil this all down. What are the big takeaways? First, make your goal to have money work for you, not the other way around. Second, you have got to know the difference between an asset and a liability. Third, always mind your own business, which means building that asset column. And finally, remember that true wealth isn't money, it's freedom, measured in time.
And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Every single day that you go to work, you are building a business. You're making something bigger and more valuable. The only question you have to ask yourself is this: is it your employer's business or is it your own? Answering that one question honestly can change not just your finances, but your entire life.